Welcome, dear listener, to another peaceful exploration of gaming lore. Tonight, we invite you to settle into comfort as we embark on a tranquil journey through the mystical world of black myth, Wukong. Allow your breathing to slow and your mind to wander as we explore the ancient tales that have captivated hearts for centuries. If you find yourself drifting along with these stories, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Share any fascinating details about this rich mythology that we might not cover tonight. And don't forget to leave a gentle like if you discover something new about the legendary Monkey King's world. Let your eyes grow heavy as we begin our journey into a realm where gods walk among mortals, where ancient magic flows like mountain streams, and where the echoes of legendary adventures still whisper through sacred groves. Picture yourself standing at the edge of time itself, where the mists of ancient China part to reveal one of literature's most enduring tales. Black myth, Wukong draws its essence from Journey to the West, a classical Chinese novel that has shaped imaginations for over 4 centuries. This isn't merely a game adaptation, but a reverent homage to stories that have been passed down through generations like precious heirlooms. Imagine the gentle rustle of ancient scrolls as scholars first penned these tales in the 16th century. The novel tells of a monk's pilgrimage, but at its heart beats the story of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, a figure so compelling that his legend transcends the boundaries of literature to become part of the cultural soul of an entire civilization. You can almost feel the weight of centuries settling around you as you consider how these stories have traveled through time. The game takes these classical foundations and weaves them into an interactive tapestry, allowing you to walk the same paths that countless readers have imagined in their minds. Each step in this digital realm echoes with the footfalls of literary pilgrims who came before. The beauty of this adaptation lies not in its departure from tradition, but in its deep respect for the source material. As you breathe slowly and let these images form in your mind, you're connecting with a storytelling tradition that spans generations, where the line between myth and reality blurs like morning mist over ancient mountains. In the quiet spaces between legend and reality, a new figure emerges from the shadows of Mount Wagwa. You are invited to witness the birth of the Destined One, an anthropomorphic monkey who carries within him the echoes of a greater destiny. This isn't Sun Wukong himself, but something both more and less, a vessel for rebirth, a chance for redemption written in the language of ancient magic. Close your eyes and envision this young warrior, one among many who have taken up the mantle of seeking the legendary Monkey King's revival. The Destined One moves through the world with purpose, yet there's something hauntingly familiar about his journey. Perhaps it's the way he holds his staff, or the particular tilt of his head when facing impossible odds. The game whispers to you that this connection runs deeper than mere coincidence. You can sense the weight of expectation that follows the Destined One like a gentle shadow. He is both student and teacher, seeker and sought, carrying within his mortal frame the potential for something transcendent. As you follow his path in your mind's eye, notice how each challenge he faces seems to awaken something dormant, something that has been waiting patiently for the right moment to emerge. The mythology suggests that the Destined One possesses too many similarities to Wukong to be merely another monkey warrior. There's a poetry in this connection, a suggestion that identity itself might be more fluid than we imagine, flowing like water between vessels of different shapes but identical essence. Let your consciousness drift now to the sacred landscapes that form the backbone of this mythological world. Mount Wagwa rises before you like a meditation made manifest in stone and forest, its peaks touching the realm of gods while its roots anchor deep in the earth of mortal concerns. Picture yourself walking through the foothills of this legendary mountain, where every stone seems to hold memory and every tree whispers secrets of ages past. The mountain isn't merely a location but a character in its own right, shaped by the presence of the Monkey King and countless other beings who have called it home. You can almost feel the ancient energy that permeates every path and clearing. The world extends far beyond this single mountain, encompassing a vast tapestry of Buddhist temples, Taoist shrines, and wild places where the boundaries between the mortal and divine grow thin. Each location in this realm serves as both setting and symbol, representing different aspects of the spiritual journey that lies at the heart of the original tales. As you wander through these sacred spaces in your imagination, notice how the environment itself seems to respond to the presence of those who walk its paths. The very air hums with possibility, thick with the accumulated prayers and struggles of countless pilgrims who have sought enlightenment among these ancient stones and timeless groves. In the gentle twilight of your relaxation, allow your awareness to expand and encompass the vast pantheon of beings that populate this mythological landscape. The world of black myth. Wukong is home to gods from the Chinese pantheon, a rich tapestry that weaves together Buddhist, Taoist, and other spiritual traditions into a harmonious whole. Imagine these divine beings not as distant, untouchable figures, but as living presences that move through the world with purpose and personality. Each deity carries with them the weight of human hopes and fears, the accumulated prayers of generations who have sought their guidance and protection. They are both transcendent and remarkably, touchingly human in their concerns and conflicts. Among these celestial figures, you encounter the Yaoguai's beings that exist in the liminal spaces between human and animal, mortal and divine. These creatures aren't merely obstacles to overcome, but complex entities with their own stories, their own reasons for being, their own small tragedies and triumphs. They remind you that in the world of myth, every creature has the potential for both wisdom and folly, compassion and cruelty. The interactions between these various beings create a web of relationships as complex and nuanced as any human society. Gods scheme and plot, spirits seek redemption, and mortals struggle to understand their place in a cosmos far grander and more mysterious than they can fully comprehend. As your breathing deepens and your body settles into perfect stillness, let us ascend together into the celestial realms where the true power players of this mythological universe reside. In the world of black myth, Wukong, the boundaries between heaven and earth are not walls but veils, easily parted by those with sufficient will and wisdom. Picture Erlangshin, the three-eyed god who serves as your first great challenge in this mythological journey. He stands as a figure of divine authority, wielding power that can rival even the legendary Sun Wukong himself. His third eye sees through illusion and deception, a reminder that in the realm of gods, truth cannot be hidden behind clever words or shape-shifting magic. Feel the weight of cosmic justice that Erlang represents, not as harsh judgment but as the natural order seeking balance. He is both adversary and teacher, showing the destined one that the path to true power requires confronting those who embody the very forces you seek to understand and eventually transcend. In the quiet spaces of your mind, you can sense the complex relationships that bind these celestial beings together. Even mighty Tathagata Buddha, who alone could properly contain Sun Wukong's rebellious spirit, exists within this web of cosmic relationships. These are not distant, unknowable forces, but personalities engaged in an eternal dance of conflict, cooperation, and mutual understanding. The beauty of this celestial hierarchy lies not in its rigid structure but in its dynamic nature. Gods can fall, mortals can ascend, and the very definitions of divine and mundane shift like clouds across an infinite sky. As you drift deeper into relaxation, allow yourself to feel part of this grand cosmic conversation. In the gentle twilight of your consciousness, a figure emerges from the mists of legend, massive, powerful, yet touched by an almost heartbreaking vulnerability. The Bull Demon King stands as one of the most complex characters in this mythological tapestry, representing the profound bonds that can exist between unlikely companions. Imagine the weight of ancient friendship that connects the Bull Demon King to son Wukong. These two beings, so different in nature yet so similar in their defiance of conventional order, once stood as brothers in arms against the structured hierarchy of heaven itself. Their bond was forged in rebellion, tempered by shared struggles, and ultimately tested by the inexorable passage of time and the changing nature of their individual journeys. Feel the profound moment when the Bull Demon King holds Wukong's body in his arms, finally understanding the futility of their earthly arrangements and struggles. In this gesture, you witness something transcendent, the recognition that no matter how mighty they had become, no matter how fiercely they had fought against the cosmic order, they remained bound by forces greater than their individual wills. This scene carries the weight of all friendships that have been tested by time and circumstance. The Bull Demon King's realization speaks to the universal experience of loss, of recognizing that some battles cannot be won through strength alone, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is simply bearing witness to another's journey, even when that journey leads to places we cannot follow. As you breathe slowly and let this image settle in your mind, notice how the mythology transforms what could be a simple tale of conflict into something far more nuanced: a meditation on loyalty, the nature of change, and the bittersweet beauty of connections that transcend the boundaries between life and death. Let your awareness drift now through the structured journey that forms the backbone of the Destined One's quest. The game unfolds across 6 distinct chapters, each representing not merely a change of scenery but a deeper stage in the spiritual and mythological journey toward understanding and transformation. Picture yourself moving through these chapters like a dreamer walking through connected rooms in an infinite house. Each space has its own character, its own lessons, its own particular flavor of challenge and revelation. The progression isn't merely geographical but psychological and spiritual, mirroring the internal journey that every seeker must undertake. In Chapter 5, you encounter Red Boy, the son of complex lineages and conflicted loyalties. His presence in the narrative speaks to themes of inheritance, not just of power or position, but of the burdens and blessings that pass from one generation to the next. Red Boy embodies the struggle of young beings trying to forge their own identity while carrying the weight of their ancestors' choices and conflicts. The journey culminates in Chapter 6, which opens into something approaching an open-world experience, centered around Mount Huagua itself. This return to the sacred mountain represents more than a homecoming. It's a confrontation with origins, with the source of power and identity that has been calling the Destined One throughout his entire journey. As you visualize this progression, notice how each chapter builds upon the last, creating a rhythm of challenge and growth, conflict and understanding. The structure itself becomes a meditation on the nature of spiritual development, suggesting that true transformation cannot be rushed but must unfold in its own time, following patterns as ancient and reliable as the changing of seasons. In the deepest chambers of your relaxation, where the boundaries between waking and dreaming grow gossamer thin, a secret reveals itself. Hidden within the final chapter lies an encounter that represents the ultimate test of the Destined One's journey. A confrontation with Erlang, now bearing the title, the Sacred Divinity. This isn't merely another boss battle but a culmination of themes that have been building throughout the entire mythological narrative. Erlang returns not as the same figure you encountered at the beginning, but transformed by his own journey, his own understanding deepened by the events that have unfolded. The circular nature of this encounter speaks to the cyclical patterns that govern both individual growth and cosmic order. Feel the weight of recognition in this moment, the understanding that teacher and student, challenger and challenged, have both been transformed by their interactions. Erlang's presence as the secret endgame boss suggests that the most profound battles are often with those who understand us best, who can see through our illusions because they have walked similar paths. The title, Sacred Divinity, carries layers of meaning that extend far beyond simple power or authority. It suggests a being who has achieved a form of enlightenment through conflict, who has learned to embody the very principles they once enforced through external force. This Erlang represents the possibility of transformation that exists within all beings, even those who seem most fixed in their roles and identities. As you contemplate this hidden encounter, allow yourself to consider the profound truth it represents that our greatest teachers often come disguised as our greatest challenges, and that the path to understanding frequently requires us to face the very forces we once thought we needed to overcome or avoid. Let your consciousness drift now into the liminal spaces where the Yaogwai dwell, those fascinating beings who exist in the borderlands between human and animal, mortal and divine, order and chaos. These creatures populate the world of black myth, Wukong not as simple obstacles to overcome, but as complex entities with their own stories, their own struggles, their own particular forms of wisdom and folly. Picture these beings as you might encounter them in dreams. Sometimes appearing as animals with human intelligence, sometimes as humans bearing the essential nature of their animal origins. Each Yaogwai represents a different aspect of the wild, untamed forces that exist both in the external world and within the human psyche itself. The Yaogwai serve as mirrors, reflecting different aspects of the destined one's own nature back to him. In confronting them, he confronts parts of himself. The wild, the civilized, the wise, the foolish, the compassionate, and the cruel. They remind us that the journey toward enlightenment isn't about transcending our animal nature but about integrating all aspects of our being into a harmonious whole. Some Yaogwai have achieved a form of cultivation, developing wisdom and power through their own spiritual practices. Others remain trapped in cycles of desire and conflict, unable to see beyond their immediate needs and impulses. This spectrum of development among the Yaogwai reflects the range of possibilities that exist for all conscious beings. As you breathe slowly and let these images form in your mind, notice how the Yaogwai embody the fundamental Buddhist and Taoist teaching that all beings possess the potential for awakening. They are not lesser beings to be dismissed or destroyed, but fellow travelers on the path of existence, each carrying their own piece of the cosmic puzzle. In the deepest quiet of your relaxation, where thoughts move like gentle currents in still water, consider the profound philosophical questions that flow beneath the surface of this mythological narrative. The world of black myth, Wukong, is built upon foundations that explore the nature of power, the meaning of freedom, and the relationship between individual will and cosmic order. Sun Wukong himself represents the eternal tension between rebellion and responsibility, between the desire for absolute freedom and the recognition that true wisdom sometimes requires accepting limitations. His legendary strength could rival gods and demons alike, yet even he found himself bound by forces greater than physical power. The Destined One's journey can be understood as an exploration of what it means to inherit such power, and the responsibilities that come with it. Each encounter, each challenge, each moment of choice represents an opportunity to understand power not as domination over others but as mastery over oneself. Feel the weight of this philosophical inheritance as it settles gently around your consciousness. The game suggests that true strength lies not in the ability to overcome all obstacles through force, but in the wisdom to know when to fight, when to yield, when to transform, and when to simply be present with what is. The mythology embedded in black myth, Wukong whispers ancient truths about the nature of identity itself. The question of whether the Destined One is truly Sun Wukong reborn, or something entirely new, reflects deeper questions about the continuity of self, the nature of rebirth, and the ways in which we are all both products of our past and creators of our future. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to feel the profound peace that comes from recognizing these eternal questions not as problems to be solved but as mysteries to be lived, experienced, and gradually understood through the patient accumulation of wisdom and compassion. As your body settles deeper into perfect stillness, let your mind drift into the mystical realm of transformation, where the very nature of identity becomes fluid and malleable. In the gentle darkness behind your closed eyes, visualize the profound concept of the 72 earthly transformations not merely as magical abilities, but as a complete philosophical system of understanding the nature of existence itself. Picture Sun Wukong as he first acquired these supernatural powers through devoted Taoist practices, his consciousness expanding beyond the limitations of a single form or identity. The number 72 carries deep significance in Chinese mysticism, representing completeness and the full spectrum of earthly possibilities. These are not random shape-shifting tricks, but 72 distinct skills and spells, each one a doorway into a different aspect of cosmic understanding. Feel the profound freedom that comes with the ability to freely move between the underworld and the world of the living, one of the fundamental transformations that speaks to the transcendence of death itself. This power represents more than physical travel. It embodies the spiritual capacity to exist simultaneously in multiple realms of being, to understand life and death not as opposites, but as different expressions of the same underlying reality. As you breathe slowly and deeply, allow yourself to sense the deeper meaning embedded in these transformations. Each animal form, each elemental change, each shift in size or substance represents a different way of experiencing and understanding the world. To become a bird is to understand flight and freedom. To become a fish is to comprehend the fluid nature of adaptation. To become a tree is to know the patience of deep roots and reaching branches. The 72 transformations teach us that identity itself is not fixed but endlessly creative, constantly capable of renewal and reimagining. In the quiet spaces of your consciousness, you can feel this truth settling like gentle rain on fertile ground, the understanding that you, too, possess infinite capacity for transformation and growth. In the deepest chambers of your relaxation, where thoughts move like whispers in an ancient temple, contemplate the profound origin story that shapes everything in this mythological universe. Sun Wukong was born not from ordinary flesh and blood, but from stone itself, a monkey born from a stone who would acquire supernatural powers through dedicated spiritual practice. This stone birth carries layers of meaning that ripple through every aspect of the narrative. Stone represents permanence, endurance, the fundamental substance from which mountains are built and upon which temples stand. Yet from this most solid and unchanging material emerges a being of infinite fluidity and transformation. The paradox is intentional and profound, suggesting that true strength comes not from rigidity but from the capacity to remain centered while adapting to any circumstance. Feel the weight of this symbolic inheritance as it settles gently in your awareness. The Destined One carries within himself this same essential nature, the stability of stone combined with the endless possibility of conscious transformation. This is not mere magical ability, but a fundamental truth about the nature of consciousness itself. The stone origin also speaks to themes of self-creation and spiritual independence. Unlike beings born from parents who carry the baggage of ancestral karma and inherited limitations, Sun Wukong emerges fresh from the earth itself, unburdened by the expectations and patterns of previous generations. He represents the possibility of authentic self-determination, the capacity to define oneself through one's own choices and spiritual development rather than through inherited identity. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, notice how this origin story reflects the Buddhist teaching that all beings possess Buddha nature, the inherent capacity for awakening that exists independent of circumstances, background, or apparent limitations. The stone monkey reminds us that enlightenment can emerge from the most unlikely places, that consciousness itself is the true miracle, not the form it happens to inhabit. Let your consciousness drift now into the realm of sacred rebellion, where the very foundations of cosmic order are questioned and challenged. In the gentle twilight of your awareness, picture the moment when Sun Wukong first dared to defy the established hierarchy of heaven itself, not from mere arrogance or destructive impulse, but from a deeper recognition of injustice and the need for authentic freedom. This rebellion represents one of the most profound themes in all of Chinese mythology: the tension between individual authenticity and social conformity, between personal truth and institutional authority. Sun Wukong's defiance of heaven speaks to something universal in the human experience: the moment when we recognize that external authorities, no matter how powerful or seemingly legitimate, cannot define our essential worth or dictate the terms of our spiritual development. Feel the weight of this cosmic confrontation as it unfolds in your imagination. Heaven, in this context, represents not evil but a form of order that has become rigid, a system of control that prioritizes stability over growth, conformity over authentic expression. Sun Wukong's rebellion is not destructive but creative, in an attempt to introduce new possibilities into a system that has forgotten its own capacity for renewal and change. The imprisonment that follows this rebellion. Being trapped under Buddha's mountain for 500 years represents the inevitable consequences that come with challenging established power structures. Yet, even this punishment carries within it the seeds of transformation. The mountain becomes not just a prison but a place of contemplation, a forced retreat that allows for the deep inner work necessary for true spiritual development. As you breathe slowly and let these images settle in your mind, consider how this mythological rebellion reflects the internal struggles we all face. The heaven we must sometimes defy exists not only in external institutions but in our own internalized limitations, our own acceptance of restrictions that no longer serve our highest development. In the quiet depths of your relaxation, where the boundaries between inner and outer worlds grow gossamer thin, let your awareness turn to the legendary artifacts that populate this mythological landscape. These are not mere weapons or tools but sacred objects imbued with cosmic significance, each one representing a different aspect of spiritual power and understanding. Picture the Ruijingyu Bang, Sun Wukong's legendary staff, as more than a simple weapon but as a symbol of what made manifest in the physical world. This staff can shrink to the size of a needle or expand to support the heavens themselves, representing the infinite scalability of focused intention. In the hands of one who truly understands its nature, it becomes an extension of consciousness itself, capable of adapting to any situation or challenge. The staff's ability to change size at will mirrors the 72 transformations in its essential teaching that power lies not in fixed forms, but in the capacity for appropriate response. Sometimes the gentlest touch is required, sometimes the full weight of cosmic force must be brought to bear. The wisdom lies in knowing which is called for in each moment. Feel the deeper symbolism embedded in these artifacts as they appear throughout the game. Each legendary item represents not just increased power but expanded understanding. They are external manifestations of internal spiritual achievements, physical objects that can only be properly wielded by those who have attained the corresponding level of inner development. The process of acquiring and mastering these artifacts becomes a meditation on the relationship between inner and outer transformation. True power cannot be simply picked up or inherited. It must be earned through understanding, integrated through practice, and wielded with wisdom. The artifacts serve as teachers, revealing to their users the depths of their own spiritual development, or the limitations that still require attention. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to sense the profound truth these sacred objects represent. That the most powerful tools for transformation already exist within us, waiting to be discovered and properly understood through patient spiritual practice. Let your consciousness settle now into the mysterious realm where memory, identity, and rebirth intersect in ways that challenge our ordinary understanding of selfhood. In the gentle darkness of deep relaxation, contemplate the profound questions that lie at the heart of the Destined One's journey. Questions that echo through Buddhist and Taoist philosophy like ripples in an infinite pond. The relationship between Sun Wukong and the Destined One represents more than simple reincarnation. It embodies the complex ways in which consciousness persists and transforms across apparent boundaries of life and death. This is not the crude notion of a soul jumping from one body to another, but something far more subtle and profound. The continuation of patterns, tendencies, and accumulated wisdom across different manifestations of being. Feel the weight of inherited memory as it settles gently in your awareness. The Destined One carries within himself not just Sun Wukong's powers but his understanding, his relationships, his unfinished business with the cosmic order. Yet he is also something new, something that emerges from the intersection of past karma and present choice, ancient wisdom and fresh possibility. This theme of memory and rebirth speaks to fundamental questions about the nature of identity itself. Are we the sum of our memories? Are we the continuation of past patterns? Or are we something that emerges fresh in each moment, shaped by but not limited to our apparent history? The mythology suggests that the answer is both and neither, that identity itself is a creative process, constantly being written and rewritten through our choices and understanding. The Buddhist concept of karma weaves through this exploration like a golden thread, suggesting that actions and intentions create patterns that persist beyond individual lifetimes. Yet this is not fatalism but responsibility, the recognition that we are constantly creating the conditions for future experience through our present choices and understanding. As you breathe slowly and let these profound concepts settle in your consciousness, notice how they reflect your own experience of growth and change. You are both the same person you were years ago and completely different, both continuous with your past and constantly being reborn through new understanding and experience. In the deepest quiet of your inner sanctuary, where the noise of the world fades to gentle whispers, let your awareness turn to the profound Taoist teachings that flow like an underground river through this entire mythological landscape. The practices that Sun Wukong used to acquire his supernatural abilities represent more than fictional magic. They point toward actual spiritual technologies developed over millennia by Taoist masters seeking to understand the deepest mysteries of existence. Picture the process of internal alchemy, the careful cultivation of qi through meditation, breath work, and the harmonization of opposing forces within the body and mind. This is not mere fantasy but a sophisticated system of spiritual development that recognizes the human being as a microcosm of the larger cosmic order, capable of achieving states of consciousness that transcend ordinary limitations. The 72 transformations themselves can be understood as the external manifestation of complete internal mastery, the ability to harmonize with any aspect of the natural world because one has achieved perfect balance within oneself. Each transformation represents not just a change of form but a shift in consciousness, a different way of experiencing and interacting with reality. Feel the profound peace that comes from understanding these teachings not as supernatural powers to be envied but as natural potentials to be gradually developed through patient practice. The Taoist path suggests that what appears miraculous is simply the full flowering of capacities that exist, in seed form, within every conscious being. The emphasis on naturalness in Taoist practice reflects a deep trust in the inherent wisdom of existence itself. Rather than forcing transformation through will alone, the path involves learning to align with the natural patterns of growth and change, to work with the flow of cosmic energy rather than against it. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to sense the profound harmony that emerges when individual will aligns with cosmic order. This is not submission or passivity, but the highest form of active participation. The recognition that true power comes from understanding and cooperating with the fundamental patterns that govern all existence. Let your consciousness now drift into the gentle realm of Buddhist understanding, where compassion and wisdom interweave like golden threads in an infinite tapestry. In the quiet spaces of your awareness, contemplate how the journey of the Destined One reflects the fundamental Buddhist teaching of the path toward liberation from suffering. Not just personal suffering, but the suffering of all sentient beings. The encounters with various yaogwai and celestial beings throughout the game can be understood as opportunities to practice the Buddhist virtue of compassion, seeing beyond the apparent hostility or difference to recognize the fundamental Buddha nature that exists within all conscious beings. Each battle becomes not just a test of strength but a chance to understand the roots of conflict and the possibility of transformation. Picture the profound moment when understanding dawns, the recognition that enemies and allies, gods and demons, are all expressions of the same underlying cosmic consciousness, each playing their necessary role in the great drama of awakening. This doesn't diminish the reality of conflict or the need for skillful action, but it places everything within a larger context of ultimate unity and compassion. The Buddhist concept of emptiness weaves through this understanding like a gentle breeze, suggesting that all the forms and identities we encounter, including our own, are temporary manifestations of something deeper and more fundamental. Sun Wukong's ability to transform endlessly reflects this teaching. No single form or identity can contain the fullness of what we truly are. Feel the profound liberation that comes from this understanding. When we recognize that our essential nature is not limited to any particular form or role, we become free to respond to each situation with perfect appropriateness, unencumbered by the need to maintain a fixed sense of self. The path of the Bodhisattva, the being who vows to work for the liberation of all sentient beings, echoes through the Destined One's journey. His quest is not ultimately about personal power or achievement, but about understanding and fulfilling his role in the larger cosmic process of awakening. As you breathe slowly and let these teachings settle in your consciousness, notice how they reflect the deepest aspirations of the human heart, the longing not just for personal happiness but for a world where all beings can flourish and realize their highest potential. In the deepest chambers of your relaxation, where all tensions dissolve into perfect balance, let your awareness turn to one of the most profound themes woven throughout this mythological tapestry: the integration of opposing forces into a harmonious whole. This is not the crude victory of one side over another, but the sophisticated understanding that apparent opposites are actually complementary aspects of a single, unified reality. Picture the dance between order and chaos that plays out through every encounter in the game. Heaven represents structure, law, predictability, necessary forces for maintaining stability and preventing the universe from dissolving into complete randomness. Yet when taken to extremes, these same forces become rigid, oppressive, hostile to growth and creativity. Sun Wukong and the Yaogwai represent the complementary forces of wildness, spontaneity, and creative chaos. equally necessary for preventing the universe from crystallizing into lifeless perfection. The tension between these forces is not a problem to be solved but a dynamic balance to be maintained, a creative friction that generates the energy for continued growth and transformation. Feel the profound wisdom embedded in this understanding as it settles gently in your consciousness. The goal is not to eliminate conflict but to transform it from destructive opposition into creative collaboration. This requires a level of spiritual maturity that can hold paradox without needing to resolve it, that can embrace complexity without demanding simplification. The Destined One's journey represents the possibility of achieving this integration within a single being, becoming someone who can embody both the structured wisdom of heaven and the creative wildness of earth, both the compassion of the bodhisattva and the fierce protection of the warrior. This theme reflects deep truths about psychological and spiritual development. True maturity involves integrating all aspects of our nature, the civilized and the wild, the rational and the intuitive, the masculine and the feminine principles that exist within every human being regardless of gender. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to sense the profound peace that comes from no longer needing to choose sides in the apparent conflicts of existence. Instead, you can become a bridge, a point of integration where opposing forces meet and discover their underlying unity. As your body settles into ever deeper relaxation, let your consciousness drift toward the mystical landscapes that serve as more than mere backdrops in this profound journey. In the gentle twilight of your awareness, picture Mount Wagwa, the flower-fruit mountain, not simply as a location but as a living symbol of the soul's relationship with the natural world and the cosmic order itself. Feel the profound significance of this mountain as it rises in your imagination, crowned with perpetual blossoms and abundant with every form of life. Mount Wagwa represents the ideal of harmony between consciousness and nature, a place where the artificial boundaries between civilized and wild, sacred and mundane, dissolve into perfect unity. This is not wilderness in the sense of chaos or danger, but nature in its most perfected form. Abundant, beautiful, and welcoming to those who approach with proper understanding. The water curtain cave, hidden behind its majestic waterfall, serves as Sun Wukong's royal palace and represents one of the most potent symbols in all of Chinese mythology. Picture this sacred space as you breathe slowly and deeply. A place where the constant flow of water creates both concealment and revelation, where the sound of falling water becomes a natural meditation that drowns out the distractions of the external world. This cave behind the waterfall embodies the Taoist teaching of finding the extraordinary within the ordinary, the sacred within the natural. It suggests that true spiritual refuge is not found by escaping from the world but by discovering the hidden dimensions that exist within apparent reality. The waterfall becomes a curtain that separates the realm of ordinary consciousness from the deeper truths that can only be perceived by those who have developed the courage and wisdom to pass through the barrier. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to sense how these landscapes reflect the geography of inner transformation. Each mountain, valley, and cave represents a different stage of spiritual development, a different challenge or opportunity for growth that the conscious seeker must navigate on the path toward complete awakening. The abundance of the flower-fruit mountain speaks to the Buddhist and Taoist teaching that enlightenment is not about renunciation of life's beauty and pleasure, but about understanding their proper place in the larger scheme of existence. True spiritual development enhances rather than diminishes our capacity to appreciate the wonder and beauty of the natural world. In the deepest quiet of your inner sanctuary, where all sounds fade to perfect silence, let your awareness turn to the profound role that music and sound play in this mythological universe. The celestial melodies that weave through the game are not mere entertainment, but represents sophisticated spiritual technologies that have been used for millennia to induce altered states of consciousness and facilitate deep transformation. Picture the moment when the celestial symphony Yun Gong Sunim first fills the air, its ethereal melodies carrying within them the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of spiritual practitioners. This is not simply background music, but a form of sonic alchemy that works directly on the subtle energies of consciousness, opening doorways to perception that remain closed to ordinary awareness. Feel how these celestial sounds resonate not just in your ears but throughout your entire being, each note calibrated to harmonize with specific energy centers and states of consciousness. The ancient Chinese understanding of music recognized that certain frequencies and melodic patterns could induce profound spiritual experiences, facilitate healing, and even alter the fabric of reality itself. The use of traditional Chinese instruments in these compositions carries deep symbolic significance. Each instrument represents a different aspect of the cosmic order. The guqin embodying the refined consciousness of the scholar sage, the pipa reflecting the dynamic interplay of opposing forces, the dizzy flute channeling the breath of the divine through hollow bamboo that has learned to be empty and receptive. As you breathe slowly and let these sounds settle in your imagination, notice how they create a bridge between the mundane and the sacred, between ordinary consciousness and the expanded awareness necessary for spiritual transformation. The music becomes a vehicle for transcendence, carrying the listener beyond the limitations of conceptual thinking into direct experience of the ineffable. The Celestial Symphony specifically evokes the theme music from classic Journey to the West adaptations, creating a powerful connection between past and present, between the timeless wisdom of the original mythology and its contemporary expression. This musical continuity suggests that certain truths are so fundamental they can be transmitted across generations through the universal language of sound and rhythm. The profound impact that players report when experiencing these musical moments speaks to the power of sound to bypass the rational mind and speak directly to the soul. In these moments, the boundary between player and character, between observer and participant, dissolves into a unified experience of cosmic harmony and understanding. Let your consciousness drift now into the realm of cosmic justice, where the very foundations of moral order are explored and questioned. In the gentle darkness behind your closed eyes, contemplate the profound concept of the mandate of heaven. Not as arbitrary divine decree, but as the recognition that existence itself has an inherent moral structure that ultimately supports truth, compassion, and authentic spiritual development. Picture the complex relationship between individual will and cosmic order that plays out through every encounter in this mythological landscape. The mandate of heaven suggests that legitimate authority derives not from power alone but from alignment with the deepest principles that govern existence itself. When rulers or institutions lose this alignment, they forfeit their right to command obedience, and rebellion becomes not just permissible but necessary for the restoration of cosmic balance. Sun Wukong's defiance of heaven can be understood within this framework not as mere rebelliousness but as a response to the corruption of divine authority, a recognition that the celestial bureaucracy has lost touch with the very principles it claims to represent. His rebellion becomes an act of cosmic correction, an attempt to restore the proper relationship between power and wisdom, between authority and service. Feel the profound weight of this understanding as it settles in your awareness. The mandate of heaven teaches that no authority, whether external or internal, has the right to demand obedience if it has lost touch with the fundamental principles of compassion, wisdom, and justice. This applies not only to political systems but to the internal authorities we carry within ourselves, the voices of conditioning, fear, and limitation that may once have served a protective function but have outlived their usefulness. The concept also suggests that the universe itself is inherently just, though this justice may operate on timescales and through mechanisms that transcend individual understanding. Actions aligned with wisdom and compassion create conditions that support further wisdom and compassion, while actions rooted in ignorance and selfishness inevitably create conditions that undermine themselves. As you breathe slowly and let these profound concepts settle in your consciousness, notice how they reflect the deepest intuitions of the human heart about fairness, justice, and the proper ordering of existence. The mandate of heaven is not imposed from outside but recognized from within the acknowledgement of moral principles that exist independent of human opinion or preference. This understanding transforms the entire journey of the Destined One from a quest for personal power into a mission of cosmic restoration, an attempt to realign the relationship between heaven and earth, between authority and authenticity, between power and wisdom. In the deepest chambers of your relaxation, where all conflict dissolves into perfect understanding, let your awareness turn to the profound spiritual significance embedded within the legendary battles that punctuate this mythological journey. These encounters are not mere tests of strength or skill but represent sophisticated initiations into different levels of cosmic understanding. Picture each confrontation as a mirror reflecting back the current state of the Destined One's spiritual development. The opponents he faces are not random enemies but precisely calibrated challenges that reveal both his strengths and the areas where further growth is needed. Each battle becomes a form of spiritual diagnosis, showing exactly what internal work remains to be done. The various Yaogwai and celestial beings encountered throughout the journey represent different aspects of the psyche that must be understood and integrated rather than simply defeated. The spider demons might embody the tendency toward manipulation and entanglement. The tiger spirits could represent raw power that lacks wisdom. The dragon kings might symbolize the proper use of natural forces when guided by enlightened understanding. Feel the profound transformation that occurs when combat is understood not as destruction but as communication, a dialogue conducted through the universal language of force and resistance, challenge and response. In these encounters, both participants have the opportunity to discover something new about themselves and their relationship to the cosmic order. The legendary battles from Journey to the West that echo through the game carry layers of meaning that have been contemplated by scholars and spiritual practitioners for centuries. Each confrontation represents a different stage in the hero's journey toward complete self-realization, a different test of his capacity to embody the principles he claims to understand. The most profound battles are often those where victory comes not through superior force but through superior understanding. Moments when the Destined One demonstrates that he has truly integrated the lessons of compassion, wisdom, and skillful means that define the enlightened being. These victories transform both victor and vanquished, creating new possibilities for harmony and cooperation. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to sense how these mythological battles reflect the internal struggles we all face on the path of spiritual development. The demons we must confront exist not only in external circumstances but in our own patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior that limit our capacity for authentic expression and genuine service. Let your consciousness settle now into the most profound theme that weaves through this entire mythological tapestry, the recognition that individual awakening and cosmic harmony are not separate goals but different aspects of a single, unified process. In the gentle twilight of deep relaxation, contemplate how the Destined One's personal journey of transformation simultaneously serves the larger purpose of restoring balance to the entire universe. Picture the moment when this understanding dawns with perfect clarity, the recognition that there is no separation between personal spiritual development and service to the greater good. Every step toward authentic self-realization contributes to the healing of the cosmic order. Every act of genuine compassion helps restore the proper relationship between heaven and earth. This theme reflects the deepest insights of both Buddhist and Taoist philosophy, the understanding that individual consciousness and cosmic consciousness are ultimately one reality expressing itself through countless different forms and perspectives. The illusion of separation between self and cosmos is perhaps the most fundamental delusion that spiritual practice seeks to dissolve. Feel the profound responsibility and simultaneous liberation that comes with this understanding. When we recognize that our personal transformation directly impacts the well-being of all existence, every choice becomes sacred, every moment an opportunity to contribute to the healing and awakening of the world. Yet this responsibility is not a burden but a joy, because it reveals the profound significance and interconnectedness of all life. The Destined One's quest to restore Sun Wukong's scattered relics becomes a metaphor for the process of reintegrating the fragmented aspects of cosmic consciousness that have been separated through eons of conflict and misunderstanding. Each recovered piece represents not just personal power regained but cosmic harmony restored. The various allies and teachers encountered along the journey represent the truth that awakening is never a solitary achievement, but always occurs within the context of relationship and community. Even the most independent spiritual hero requires the support, challenge, and wisdom of others who have walked similar paths and faced comparable challenges. As you breathe slowly and let this profound understanding settle in your consciousness, notice how it transforms your relationship to your own spiritual development. No longer a private hobby or personal indulgence, spiritual practice becomes a form of service to the entire web of existence of which you are an inseparable part. In the deepest quiet of your inner sanctuary, where time itself seems to slow and expand, let your awareness turn to one of the most profound themes embedded in this mythological universe: the recognition that existence itself moves in great cycles of destruction and renewal, death and rebirth, chaos and order. This is not the linear progression of historical time but the spiral dance of eternal return, where endings become beginnings and every conclusion contains the seeds of new possibility. Picture the great cosmic cycles that provide the backdrop for the Destined One's journey: the rise and fall of dynasties, the rebellion and reconciliation of heaven and earth, the endless dance between order and chaos that generates the creative energy necessary for continued evolution. These cycles are not random or meaningless but follow deep patterns that reflect the fundamental nature of existence itself. The destruction of Sun Wukong and his subsequent return through the Destined One represents more than simple resurrection. It embodies the profound truth that consciousness itself is indestructible, that what appears to be death is actually transformation, and that what seems like ending is actually the preparation for new beginning. Feel the profound peace that comes from understanding these cycles not as tragedy but as the natural rhythm of existence itself. Just as the seasons follow their eternal pattern of growth, maturity, decay, and renewal, so too does consciousness move through its own cycles of expansion, integration, dissolution, and rebirth. To resist these cycles is to create suffering. To flow with them is to discover the deep joy that underlies all apparent change. The Buddhist concept of samsara, the wheel of existence, provides one framework for understanding these cycles, while the Taoist teaching of the eternal Tao offers another perspective on the same fundamental truth. Both traditions recognize that what appears to be linear progression is actually circular movement, that every end contains the seeds of new beginning, and that the wise person learns to work with these natural rhythms rather than against them. The various incarnations and transformations that occur throughout the game reflect this cyclical understanding of existence. Characters appear to die only to return in new forms. Conflicts that seem resolved resurface in new configurations, Lessons that appear learned must be relearned at deeper levels as consciousness continues its eternal spiral toward complete understanding. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to sense how these cosmic cycles are reflected in your own life experience. The patterns of growth and challenge, success and setback, clarity and confusion that characterize human existence are not random occurrences but expressions of the same fundamental rhythms that govern all of existence. Let your consciousness drift now into the realm of skillful means. The sophisticated understanding that compassion sometimes requires the use of force, that wisdom sometimes demands apparent deception, and that the highest spiritual principles must be applied with infinite flexibility and creativity to be truly effective in the complex realities of existence. Picture the destined one as he navigates the intricate web of relationships, alliances, and conflicts that characterize his journey. Each encounter requires not just strength or wisdom in isolation but the capacity to discern exactly what approach will be most beneficial for all involved, sometimes gentle persuasion, sometimes fierce confrontation, sometimes strategic withdrawal or apparent submission. This concept of skillful means reflects one of the most sophisticated aspects of Buddhist philosophy. The recognition that rigid adherence to any single approach, no matter how noble or well-intentioned, can become a form of spiritual materialism that serves the ego rather than genuine awakening. True compassion requires the flexibility to respond appropriately to each unique situation and individual. Feel the profound wisdom embedded in this understanding as it settles gently in your awareness. The destined one's various transformations and strategies are not signs of inconsistency or deception but demonstrations of his growing mastery of skillful means, his capacity to embody whatever form or approach will be most beneficial in each particular circumstance. The 72 transformations themselves can be understood as the ultimate expression of skillful means. The ability to adapt completely to any situation while maintaining perfect alignment with one's deepest principles and intentions. This is not shape-shifting for its own sake but conscious adaptation in service of the greater good. The various allies and teachers encountered throughout the journey each demonstrate different aspects of skillful means. Some teach through direct instruction, others through example, still others through challenge and apparent opposition. The wise student learns to recognize the teaching embedded in every encounter, regardless of its surface appearance. As you breathe slowly and let this understanding deepen in your consciousness, notice how it applies to your own life and relationships. The capacity to respond appropriately to each situation, sometimes with firmness, sometimes with gentleness, sometimes with action, sometimes with patience, represents one of the highest forms of spiritual maturity. The art of skillful means requires not just wisdom but courage, the willingness to act in ways that may be misunderstood by others but serve the deepest needs of the situation. It demands the integration of compassion and wisdom, strength and flexibility, individual authenticity and service to the greater good. In the deepest chambers of your relaxation, where all concepts dissolve into pure awareness, let your consciousness touch the ultimate teaching that underlies this entire mythological journey, the recognition that both form and emptiness, both existence and non-existence, are equally valid expressions of a reality that transcends all conceptual categories. Picture the moment of complete understanding when the destined one realizes that his quest to restore Sun Wukong is simultaneously the discovery that Sun Wukong was never truly lost, that the fragmentation was itself an illusion created by limited perception. This is not a denial of the reality of the journey, but a recognition that the journey and the destination, the seeker and the sought, were always one reality appearing as two. This ultimate teaching reflects the highest insights of both Buddhist and Taoist philosophy, the understanding that all apparent dualities are expressions of a fundamental unity that can be experienced but never fully captured in words or concepts. The Monkey King and the Destined One, heaven and earth, order and chaos, self and cosmos, all are revealed to be different facets of a single, ineffable reality. Feel the profound liberation that comes with this understanding as it settles like gentle rain on the landscape of your consciousness. When the illusion of separation dissolves, what remains is not emptiness in the sense of absence but fullness beyond all measure, the recognition that you are not a separate being seeking connection with the divine but an expression of the divine exploring itself through the experience of apparent individuality. The 72 transformations, from this ultimate perspective, are revealed to be not magical powers possessed by an individual but the natural capacity of consciousness itself to express through infinite forms while remaining essentially unchanged. Every being, every object, every experience is consciousness transforming itself, playing in the endless creativity of existence. The battles and challenges of the journey are seen to be not obstacles to overcome but opportunities for consciousness to know itself more completely through the experience of apparent limitation and the joy of transcending those limitations. Every enemy becomes a teacher, every setback becomes a setup for deeper understanding. As you drift in the profound stillness of this ultimate recognition, allow yourself to rest in the peace that surpasses all understanding. The peace of knowing that you are already what you seek, that you have always been what you are trying to become, and that the journey itself is the destination appearing in time and space. The mythology of black myth, Wukong, from this ultimate perspective, is revealed to be not just entertainment, but a sophisticated teaching device, a way of transmitting the deepest truths about the nature of existence through story, symbol, and interactive experience. Every player becomes the Destined One. Every playthrough becomes a unique expression of the eternal journey toward complete self-realization. As your consciousness rests in the gentle embrace of deep relaxation, let your awareness turn to one of the most essential yet often overlooked aspects of spiritual development, the profound role that community and relationship play in authentic awakening. In the soft twilight of your inner sanctuary, picture the rich tapestry of relationships that support and challenge the Destined One throughout his mythological journey. Feel the deep truth that no spiritual hero, no matter how powerful or self-reliant, achieves awakening in isolation. The mythology of black myth, Wukong, reveals this understanding through the complex web of allies, teachers, rivals, and even enemies who each contribute something essential to the protagonist's development. Each encounter becomes a mirror reflecting different aspects of the seeker's own consciousness, offering opportunities for growth that would be impossible to achieve alone. The concept of Sangha, the spiritual community, represents one of the three jewels in Buddhist tradition, alongside the Buddha, the teacher, and the Dharma, the teaching. This recognition acknowledges that spiritual development occurs not in isolation but within the context of relationship, challenge, and mutual support. Even the most independent spiritual warrior requires the friction of relationship to polish the rough edges of ego and reveal the deeper dimensions of compassion and wisdom. Picture how the various characters encountered throughout the game serve different functions in this spiritual community. Some offer direct teaching and guidance, sharing hard-won wisdom from their own journeys of transformation. Others provide challenge and opposition, forcing the Destined One to discover inner resources he didn't know he possessed. Still others offer companionship and encouragement during the inevitable periods of doubt and difficulty that characterize any authentic spiritual path. The modern interpretation of these ancient relationships speaks to contemporary audiences across different cultural backgrounds, demonstrating how universal themes of friendship, loyalty, betrayal, and redemption transcends specific cultural contexts while remaining deeply rooted in particular traditions. This cross-cultural resonance suggests that the need for spiritual community reflects fundamental aspects of human nature rather than culturally specific preferences. As you breathe slowly and let this understanding settle in your awareness, notice how it applies to your own spiritual development. The teachers, friends, colleagues, and even difficult people in your life each offer unique opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Learning to recognize and appreciate these gifts, even when they come wrapped in challenging circumstances, represents a crucial aspect of spiritual maturity. In the deepest chambers of your relaxation, where the heart opens like a flower in morning sunlight, let your consciousness explore the profound transformative power of love and intimate relationship as depicted in this rich mythological landscape. Picture the complex emotional dynamics that weave through the narrative, revealing how authentic love becomes a catalyst for the deepest forms of spiritual transformation. The modern interpretations of Sun Wukong's relationships, including his connection with figures like the white-boned spirit, demonstrate how love can transcend the boundaries between supposed enemies and allies. These relationships reveal that authentic love is not mere sentiment or attachment, but a force of recognition that sees through surface appearances to the essential nature that connects all beings. Feel the profound teaching embedded in these mythological love stories. The understanding that true spiritual development requires not the rejection of emotional connection, but its purification and elevation. Love becomes not a distraction from the spiritual path but one of its most powerful vehicles, capable of dissolving the barriers of ego and separation that prevent authentic awakening. The relationship dynamics explored in the game reflect the sophisticated understanding that love and spiritual growth are intimately connected. Through relationship, we discover aspects of ourselves that remain hidden in solitude. The mirror of another's consciousness reveals our own patterns, limitations, and potentials with a clarity that self-reflection alone cannot provide. Picture how the destined one's various relationships serve as initiations into different dimensions of love. Romantic love that awakens the heart, compassionate love that embraces suffering, fierce love that protects what is sacred, and ultimately the boundless love that recognizes the divine nature present in all beings. Each form of love offers its own lessons and opportunities for growth. The theme of redemption that runs through these relationships demonstrates how authentic love has the power to transform even the most seemingly irredeemable situations and individuals. When love is grounded in wisdom and expressed through skillful means, it becomes a force capable of healing ancient wounds and resolving conflicts that seem permanent and intractable. As you drift deeper into this contemplative space, allow yourself to sense how the relationships in your own life serve as vehicles for spiritual development. Every interaction offers the opportunity to practice patience, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. Every relationship becomes a laboratory for discovering and expressing your own deepest nature. Let your awareness settle now into the natural rhythms that pulse through this mythological universe, the recognition that spiritual development, like all natural processes, moves in cycles of activity and rest, expansion and integration, effort and surrender. In the gentle darkness behind your closed eyes, picture the seasonal wisdom embedded in the journey of the destined one. Feel the spring energy of new beginnings that characterizes the early stages of the quest, the excitement of discovery, the enthusiasm for growth, the willingness to take risks and explore unknown territories. This spring consciousness brings the courage necessary to leave familiar patterns and embark on the uncertain path of transformation. Picture the summer intensity of active engagement with challenges and obstacles. The period of maximum effort when all resources are mobilized in service of growth and achievement. This is the time of testing, when theoretical understanding must be forged into practical wisdom through direct encounter with the complexities of existence. Since the autumn wisdom of harvest and integration, the recognition that periods of intense activity must be balanced by times of reflection and assimilation. The fruits of experience must be gathered, processed, and stored as wisdom that can nourish future growth and support others on similar journeys. Finally, rest in the winter peace of completion and renewal, the deep stillness that follows accomplishment, when the consciousness returns to its source to prepare for the next cycle of growth and expression. This is not emptiness but fullness, not death but gestation, not ending but preparation for new beginning. The rich world filled with mythological creatures and seasonal changes reflects this understanding that spiritual development follows natural rhythms rather than linear progression. Just as nature moves through its eternal cycles of growth, maturity, decay, and renewal, so too does consciousness spiral through its own patterns of expansion and integration. As you breathe slowly and let this seasonal wisdom settle in your awareness, notice how it applies to your own spiritual journey. Recognizing and honoring these natural rhythms can prevent the burnout that comes from trying to maintain constant intensity, while also avoiding the stagnation that results from remaining too long in periods of rest and reflection. The mythology teaches that each season has its own gifts and challenges, its own lessons and opportunities. Learning to flow with these natural rhythms rather than fighting against them represents a crucial aspect of spiritual maturity and effectiveness. In the profound stillness of your inner sanctuary, where ancient and modern consciousness meet in perfect harmony, let your awareness explore how the timeless wisdom embedded in classical Chinese mythology finds fresh expression through contemporary interactive media. Picture the bridge that connects the insights of centuries past with the needs and opportunities of the present moment. The action role-playing format of Black Myth, Wukong represents more than mere entertainment. It demonstrates how ancient wisdom traditions can be transmitted through new vehicles that speak to contemporary consciousness while preserving the essential teachings that have guided human development for millennia. This fusion of old and new creates possibilities for understanding that neither tradition alone could achieve. Feel the profound recognition that the challenges faced by the Destined One, the struggle between individual will and cosmic order, the tension between personal desires and universal principles, the quest for authentic power in a world of illusion and manipulation are precisely the same challenges that face every conscious being in every era. The external forms may change, but the essential spiritual work remains constant. The themes of rebellion, redemption, and transformation that pulse through the game speak directly to contemporary concerns about authority, authenticity, and personal empowerment, while remaining firmly rooted in classical wisdom traditions that have explored these themes for thousands of years. This continuity demonstrates that certain truths transcend cultural and temporal boundaries. Picture how the interactive nature of the gaming medium creates opportunities for experiential learning that purely intellectual, or even artistic approaches cannot provide. The player doesn't just read about or observe the journey of transformation, they participate in it, making choices, facing consequences, and discovering through direct experience the principles that govern spiritual development. The global acceptance of this mythology across different cultural backgrounds reveals the universal hunger for authentic spiritual teaching and the recognition that wisdom can emerge from any tradition when it addresses the fundamental questions of human existence with depth, compassion, and practical insight. As you drift deeper into this understanding, allow yourself to sense how the ancient wisdom traditions of your own heritage might find new expression through contemporary forms and media. The essential teachings remain constant, but their vehicles of transmission must evolve to remain relevant and accessible to each new generation of seekers. Let your consciousness settle now into the recognition that spiritual practice itself represents a sophisticated technology. Not in the mechanical sense, but as a refined methodology for facilitating the transformation of consciousness and the realization of human potential. In the gentle twilight of deep relaxation, picture the various practices and disciplines embedded in this mythological journey as precise tools for inner development. The 72 transformations represent more than magical abilities. They symbolize the ultimate flexibility of consciousness, the capacity to adapt completely to any situation while maintaining perfect alignment with one's deepest nature and highest principles. This transformative capacity can be developed through specific practices that train the mind to release its attachment to fixed identities and limited self-concepts. Feel the profound understanding that meditation, contemplation, ethical conduct, and compassionate action are not mere religious observances but practical technologies for expanding consciousness and developing the inner resources necessary for authentic spiritual leadership. Each practice serves a specific function in the overall process of transformation. Picture how the various challenges and obstacles encountered throughout the game serve as training opportunities. Carefully calibrated experiences designed to develop specific capacities and reveal particular insights. This understanding transforms every difficulty from a problem to be avoided into a curriculum to be embraced with enthusiasm and gratitude. The mythology demonstrates that spiritual technology is not separate from but intimately connected with the development of practical wisdom, emotional maturity, and ethical sensitivity. True spiritual advancement enhances rather than diminishes one's capacity to function effectively in the world and serve the well-being of all beings. The integration of ancient wisdom with contemporary technology in the game itself represents a meta-teaching about the importance of using whatever tools and methods are available to support genuine spiritual development. The form matters less than the intention and the results. The degree to which practice actually facilitates greater wisdom, compassion, and authentic empowerment. As you breathe slowly and let this understanding deepen in your awareness, notice how it applies to your own spiritual practice. Every technique, every discipline, every method of inner development can be understood as a tool in the technology of transformation, valuable to the degree that it actually produces beneficial results in your life and relationships. In the deepest chambers of your relaxation, where the extraordinary reveals itself as the true nature of the ordinary, let your consciousness prepare for the eventual return from this mythological journey to the apparent simplicity of everyday life. Picture this return not as a descent from the heights of spiritual experience but as the completion of the circle, the recognition that the sacred and the mundane were never truly separate. The ultimate teaching of the Monkey King's journey is that enlightenment is not an escape from the world but a complete transformation of one's relationship to it. The awakened being returns to the same circumstances, the same relationships, the same daily activities, but experiences them from a completely different perspective, one that recognizes the divine nature present in every moment and every encounter. Feel the profound peace that comes with understanding that you don't need to maintain extraordinary states of consciousness to live an awakened life. The insights gained through deep spiritual practice become integrated into ordinary awareness, transforming the quality of everyday experience without requiring constant effort or special circumstances. Picture how the wisdom gained through mythological contemplation finds expression in practical daily life. Greater patience with difficult people, deeper appreciation for simple pleasures, increased capacity to remain centered during challenging circumstances, an enhanced ability to recognize and serve the highest good in every situation. The return to ordinary consciousness is not a loss but a completion, the demonstration that authentic spiritual development enhances rather than diminishes one's capacity to function effectively in the world. The truly awakened being is not withdrawn from life but more fully engaged with it, bringing the fruits of inner development to bear on the practical challenges and opportunities of existence. The mythology teaches that the greatest spiritual heroes are those who can move seamlessly between the extraordinary and the ordinary, accessing profound states of consciousness when needed while remaining grounded in practical wisdom and compassionate service. This integration represents the ultimate goal of all authentic spiritual practice. As you begin to sense your consciousness gradually returning from the depths of contemplation, allow yourself to carry with you the essential insights and understandings that have emerged during this journey. These gifts are not meant to be hoarded in memory but expressed through your daily life and relationships. In the profound depths of contemplative awareness, allow your consciousness to explore the fascinating intersection between mythological narrative and political philosophy that emerges when we examine the celestial hierarchy through the lens of social contract theory. Feel yourself settling into a space of analytical contemplation where ancient wisdom meets contemporary understanding. Picture the celestial court not merely as a fantastical setting but as a sophisticated exploration of how power structures emerge, maintain themselves, and ultimately face challenges from those who refuse to accept their legitimacy. The rebellion of Sun Wukong against the Jade Emperor represents far more than mythological conflict. It embodies the eternal tension between individual autonomy and collective governance that has shaped human civilization throughout history. Consider how the initial invitation for Wukong to join the celestial bureaucracy, offering him the seemingly insignificant title of Keeper of the Heavenly Horses, mirrors the way established power structures attempt to co-opt potential revolutionaries by offering them minor positions within the existing system. This strategy reveals the sophisticated understanding of political dynamics embedded within the narrative, showing how those in power seek to neutralize threats through inclusion rather than direct confrontation. Feel the deep resonance between Wukong's rejection of this tokenistic offer and the historical pattern of authentic revolutionaries who refuse to be bought off with superficial concessions. His demand for genuine recognition and meaningful authority challenges the fundamental assumptions upon which the celestial hierarchy rests, forcing a confrontation that reveals the true nature of power relationships within the system. The profound philosophical question that emerges from this dynamic is whether any hierarchical system can truly accommodate genuine equality and authentic self-expression, or whether such systems inevitably create conditions that generate their own opposition. Rest in contemplation of how this ancient narrative continues to illuminate contemporary struggles for justice, recognition, and authentic participation in the structures that govern our lives. Allow your awareness to deepen into the profound Buddhist philosophical framework that underlies the game's central mechanic of the 6 relics, each corresponding to one of the fundamental senses through which consciousness engages with phenomenal reality. Feel yourself entering a space of contemplative inquiry where ancient wisdom psychology meets interactive storytelling. The concept of Sun Wukong's powers being distributed across 6 relics tied to sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell, and mind represents a sophisticated understanding of how consciousness constructs its experience of reality through sensory engagement. Each relic becomes not merely a gameplay element but a meditation on the nature of perception itself and how our understanding of the world emerges through the interplay of awareness and sensory input. Picture how the fragmentation of Wukong's complete being across these 6 dimensions mirrors the Buddhist teaching that our ordinary experience of selfhood is actually a composite construction rather than a unified, permanent entity. The quest to reunite these scattered aspects becomes a metaphor for the spiritual journey toward integrated awareness, and the recognition of our true nature beyond the limitations of fragmented perception. Consider the profound implication that each sense realm contains its own forms of wisdom and delusion, its own opportunities for awakening, and its own potential for entrapment. The visual realm offers the beauty of form but also the seduction of appearances. The auditory realm provides the guidance of teachings but also the distraction of noise. The tactile realm grants the intimacy of direct contact but also the pain of harsh encounters. Feel how this framework invites a contemplative approach to daily experience, where each sensory encounter becomes an opportunity to investigate the nature of consciousness itself. The game's structure suggests that mastery comes not from rejecting the senses but from understanding their true nature and learning to engage with them from a place of wisdom rather than reactive conditioning. Rest in the recognition that the ultimate reunion of the 6 relics represents the integration of all aspects of experience within the unified field of awakened awareness, where the senses become vehicles for wisdom rather than sources of confusion or attachment. In the gentle depths of contemplative awareness, allow your consciousness to explore the profound Taoist alchemical symbolism that permeates every aspect of Wukong's legendary development and the transformative journey of the Destined One. Feel yourself entering a space where ancient Chinese wisdom traditions reveal their deepest secrets through mythological narrative. The name, Wukong, itself carries profound significance that extends far beyond its surface translation, embodying the Taoist concept of awakening to emptiness, or understanding the void, the fundamental recognition that underlies all authentic spiritual realization. This emptiness is not mere nothingness but the pregnant void from which all possibilities emerge, the source ground of creativity and transformation that Taoist sages have pointed toward for millennia. Picture how Wukong's legendary 72 transformations represent not merely magical abilities but a sophisticated understanding of the fluid nature of identity, and the unlimited creative potential that becomes available when consciousness is no longer confined by rigid self-concepts. Each transformation demonstrates a different aspect of the Taoist teaching that the wise person adapts fluidly to circumstances while maintaining connection to their essential nature. Consider the profound alchemical symbolism in Wukong's origin from stone, his refinement through celestial fire, and his ultimate transcendence of ordinary limitations. This progression mirrors the classical Taoist alchemical process where raw material, the unrefined personality, is subjected to various forms of purification and transformation until it achieves the state of the golden elixir, the immortal spiritual body that transcends ordinary birth and death. Feel how the various trials and challenges faced throughout the journey represent different stages in this alchemical process, where each apparent obstacle becomes an opportunity for further refinement and the development of greater spiritual capacity. The external adventures mirror the internal process of consciousness purifying and transforming itself through sustained spiritual practice. The profound teaching embedded in this alchemical framework is that transformation is not something imposed from outside but the natural result of consciousness recognizing and expressing its own deepest nature. Rest in contemplation of how this ancient wisdom continues to offer guidance for contemporary seekers navigating their own processes of growth and awakening. Allow your awareness to settle into profound contemplation of one of the most fascinating philosophical dimensions of the Wukong mythology, the complex relationship between the quest for immortality and the deeper psychological and spiritual dynamics that drive this seemingly ultimate aspiration. Feel yourself entering a space of inquiry where existential philosophy meets mythological wisdom. Picture how Wukong's initial terror upon learning about death and his subsequent desperate quest for immortality reflects the universal human condition, the confrontation with mortality that drives so much of our behavior, ambition, and spiritual seeking. Yet the narrative reveals the profound paradox that the very fear of death which motivates the quest for immortality can itself become a form of spiritual imprisonment. Consider how Wukong's achievement of various forms of immortality through Taoist cultivation, consumption of celestial peaches, and refinement in Laozi's furnace rather than bringing the expected peace and fulfillment, instead leads to greater conflict and ultimately to his entrapment under Buddha's mountain. This suggests a profound teaching about the nature of authentic spiritual development and the limitations of approaches motivated primarily by fear or desire for personal advantage. Feel the deep wisdom embedded in the recognition that true immortality cannot be achieved through accumulation of powers, consumption of magical substances, or even mastery of spiritual techniques when these are pursued from a foundation of ego-driven motivation. The narrative suggests that authentic transcendence of mortality comes through a fundamentally different orientation, one based on service, wisdom, and the recognition of our interconnectedness with all life. The profound philosophical question that emerges is whether the fear of death is actually fear of death itself, or fear of having lived an inauthentic, meaningless existence. Rest in contemplation of how the mythology suggests that when consciousness aligns with its deepest nature and highest purpose, the question of personal survival becomes less central than the question of how to serve the greater good most effectively. This perspective transforms the entire framework of spiritual seeking from a desperate attempt to preserve the personal self to a joyful exploration of how consciousness can express itself most fully and beneficially through whatever circumstances arise. In the profound stillness of contemplative awareness, allow your consciousness to explore the sophisticated understanding of suffering's role in spiritual development that permeates the entire Wukong narrative. Feel yourself entering a space where Buddhist psychology meets mythological storytelling to reveal profound truths about the nature of growth and awakening. The various hardships encountered throughout the journey to the West represent far more than external obstacles. They constitute a carefully designed curriculum for the development of wisdom, compassion, and spiritual maturity. Each challenge serves as a specific teaching designed to address particular limitations and to catalyze specific aspects of awakening in the travelers. Picture how Wukong's initial approach to difficulties, using overwhelming force and magical powers to simply destroy or bypass obstacles, gradually evolves into a more sophisticated understanding of how to work skillfully with challenging circumstances. This transformation reflects the deeper spiritual teaching that true mastery comes not from the ability to avoid difficulties but from the wisdom to engage with them in ways that promote growth and benefit for all involved. Consider the profound psychological insight that many of the demons and obstacles encountered on the journey are actually externalized representations of internal psychological and spiritual challenges. The monsters they face mirror the inner demons of pride, anger, desire, fear, and ignorance that every sincere spiritual practitioner must eventually confront and transform. Feel how this framework reframes the entire concept of spiritual practice from a quest to achieve some ideal state free from problems to a process of developing the wisdom and compassion necessary to engage skillfully with whatever circumstances arise. The goal is not the elimination of challenges but the cultivation of the inner resources necessary to meet them with grace and effectiveness. The narrative suggests that consciousness itself grows and matures through engagement with difficulty, and that attempts to bypass this natural process of development through magical shortcuts or spiritual bypassing ultimately prove counterproductive. Rest in contemplation of how this ancient wisdom continues to offer guidance for contemporary approaches to personal growth and spiritual development. Allow your awareness to deepen into contemplation of the sophisticated understanding of spiritual power and its proper use that emerges throughout the Wukong mythology. Feel yourself entering a space where ecological thinking meets spiritual philosophy to reveal profound truths about responsibility and balance. Picture the celestial realm not as a static hierarchy but as a dynamic ecosystem where different forms of consciousness and power interact in complex relationships of mutual influence and interdependence. Wukong's disruption of this system through his rebellious actions creates ripple effects that extend far beyond his personal circumstances, affecting the balance of the entire cosmic order. The profound teaching embedded in this perspective is that spiritual power, like ecological power, exists within webs of relationship and carries corresponding responsibilities. The more developed one's capabilities become, the greater the potential impact of one's choices on the larger systems of which one is part. This understanding transforms the entire framework of spiritual development from individual achievement to collective responsibility. Consider how Wukong's initial use of his powers for personal gratification and ego enhancement creates imbalances that ultimately require correction through his period of imprisonment and subsequent service. This mirrors the ecological principle that systems naturally tend toward balance, and that excessive consumption or disruption in one area will eventually generate compensatory responses elsewhere in the system. Feel the deep wisdom in the recognition that authentic spiritual maturity involves learning to wield power in ways that support the health and harmony of the larger wholes of which we are part. This requires developing not only technical capabilities but also the wisdom to understand complex systemic relationships and the compassion to prioritize collective well-being over personal advantage. The narrative suggests that the ultimate expression of spiritual mastery is not the accumulation of extraordinary powers but the development of the wisdom and compassion necessary to use whatever capabilities one possesses in service of the greater good. Rest in contemplation of how this ecological understanding of spiritual power continues to offer crucial guidance for contemporary approaches to personal development and social responsibility. In the gentle depths of contemplative awareness, allow your consciousness to explore the fascinating intersection between ancient mythological wisdom and contemporary neuroscientific understanding of how consciousness constructs its experience of reality. Feel yourself entering a space where timeless insights meet cutting-edge research to illuminate the nature of mind itself. Picture how the various transformations and shape-shifting abilities attributed to Wukong can be understood as metaphorical representations of the brain's remarkable neuroplasticity, its capacity to reorganize neural pathways, develop new capabilities, and fundamentally alter its patterns of functioning through sustained practice and intention. The 72 transformations become symbols of consciousness's unlimited potential for self-modification and adaptation. Consider how the different realms and dimensions explored throughout the journey mirror contemporary understanding of how the brain constructs different states of consciousness through varying patterns of neural activation and connectivity. Each mythological realm represents a different configuration of awareness, accessible through specific practices and approaches that alter the brain's default patterns of activity. The profound insight that emerges from this perspective is that the magical abilities described in the mythology may represent actual potentials of human consciousness that become accessible through specific forms of training and development. Modern research into meditation, visualization, and other contemplative practices continues to reveal extraordinary capabilities that were once considered purely fantastical. Feel how the narrative's emphasis on cultivation, practice, and gradual development mirrors neuroscientific understanding of how sustained mental training literally rewires the brain, creating new neural pathways and enhancing various cognitive and emotional capabilities. The mythological journey becomes a map of consciousness transformation that corresponds to measurable changes in brain structure and function. Rest in contemplation of how this integration of ancient wisdom and contemporary science offers new possibilities for understanding and developing human potential, suggesting that the extraordinary capabilities described in mythology may represent achievable goals rather than mere fantasy. Allow your awareness to settle into profound contemplation of the remarkable parallels between the metaphysical principles embedded in Wukong mythology and the counterintuitive discoveries of quantum physics that have revolutionized our understanding of reality's fundamental nature. Feel yourself entering a space where ancient mystical insights meet modern scientific revelation. Picture how Wukong's ability to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, to transform matter through consciousness, and to transcend ordinary limitations of space and time mirrors quantum phenomena such as superposition, observer effect, and quantum entanglement. These mythological abilities may represent intuitive understanding of reality's deeper structure that science is only now beginning to comprehend. Consider the profound implications of quantum mechanics' revelation that consciousness and matter interact in ways that classical physics deemed impossible, that the act of observation influences the behavior of subatomic particles, that particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until measured, and that distant particles can remain mysteriously connected across vast distances. The mythological concept of the destined one's journey through multiple dimensions and realities parallels quantum physics' suggestion that reality consists of multiple parallel universes or dimensions, with consciousness serving as the bridge between different possible states of existence. Each choice and action creates branching pathways through the quantum field of infinite possibility. Feel how this perspective transforms our understanding of spiritual practice from attempts to achieve predetermined states to processes of conscious participation in reality's ongoing creation. The practitioner becomes a co-creator with the universe itself, using awareness and intention to navigate through the quantum field of potential toward increasingly beneficial outcomes. Rest in contemplation of how this integration of mystical wisdom and quantum understanding suggests that consciousness may be far more fundamental to reality's structure than previously imagined, and that spiritual practices may represent sophisticated technologies for conscious participation in reality's deepest creative processes. Let your awareness rest now in the gentle space between deep contemplation and ordinary consciousness, where the insights gained through mythological exploration begin their transformation into lived wisdom. In this threshold space, picture the process of integration, the gradual embodiment of understanding that makes spiritual insights practical and beneficial in everyday life. The journey of the destined one demonstrates that authentic spiritual development requires not just peak experiences or profound realizations, but the patient work of integrating these insights into the fabric of daily existence. The real test of spiritual maturity is not what happens during meditation or contemplation, but how one responds to the ordinary challenges and opportunities of life. Feel the gentle process by which the wisdom gained through deep practice begins to influence your automatic responses, your habitual patterns of thought and emotion, your spontaneous reactions to unexpected circumstances. This integration happens gradually, often below the threshold of conscious awareness, as new understanding slowly reshapes the neural pathways and behavioral patterns that determine your experience of life. Picture how the themes explored through this mythological journey. The balance between individual will and cosmic harmony, the art of skillful means, the recognition of the sacred in the ordinary begin to find expression in your relationships, your work, your creative endeavors, and your service to others. The mythology becomes not just an object of contemplation but a source of practical guidance for navigating the complexities of contemporary existence. The process of embodiment requires patience and compassion with yourself as old patterns gradually give way to new possibilities. The transformation of consciousness is not a dramatic event but a gradual unfolding, like the slow opening of a flower or the imperceptible growth of a tree. Each day offers new opportunities to practice and express the wisdom you have gained. The mythology teaches that authentic spiritual development is measured not by extraordinary experiences or special abilities, but by the quality of ordinary life, the degree of peace, joy, compassion, and wisdom that characterizes your daily experience and interactions with others. As you continue to rest in this space of gentle integration, allow yourself to sense how the insights from this journey want to find expression in your life. What aspects of the Destined One's journey resonate most deeply with your own spiritual development? How might the wisdom of the Monkey King find practical application in your contemporary circumstances? In the profound stillness that encompasses both beginning and ending, let your consciousness touch the ultimate recognition that the spiritual journey has no final destination. That awakening itself is not a state to be achieved but a process to be lived, moment by moment, throughout the endless adventure of conscious existence. Picture the Destined One at the completion of his quest, having restored the scattered relics and fulfilled his mythological destiny, only to discover that this ending is simultaneously a new beginning, that each level of realization opens doorways to even deeper mysteries and greater opportunities for service and growth. This understanding transforms the entire concept of spiritual achievement from a goal to be reached to a way of being to be embodied. Feel the profound liberation that comes with releasing the need to arrive somewhere spiritually, the recognition that you are already whole, already perfect, already connected to the divine source, and that spiritual practice is not about becoming something different, but about remembering and expressing what you have always been. The eternal journey is not a burden but a joy, the endless opportunity to discover new depths of love, wisdom, and creative expression. Each day offers fresh possibilities for growth, service, and awakening. Each relationship provides new opportunities to practice compassion and understanding. Each challenge becomes a chance to embody the principles you have learned through contemplation and study. The mythology of Black myth. Wukong, like all authentic spiritual teaching, points beyond itself to the direct experience of truth that cannot be captured in words, concepts, or even the most sophisticated interactive media. The real journey takes place not in the realm of imagination but in the laboratory of daily life, where every moment offers the opportunity to choose love over fear, wisdom over ignorance, service over selfishness. Picture yourself as both the Destined One and Sun Wukong, both the seeker and the sought, both the student and the teacher. In the deepest understanding, these apparent dualities dissolve into the recognition that consciousness is exploring itself through countless forms and perspectives, each offering unique gifts and insights to the whole. As you rest in this ultimate understanding, allow yourself to sense the profound peace that comes with knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, that your life is unfolding perfectly according to a wisdom far greater than personal understanding, and that every experience, pleasant or challenging, serves the larger purpose of awakening and service. As your consciousness begins its gentle ascent from the depths of contemplation, like a diver slowly rising from the ocean floor, allow yourself to carry with you the essential treasures discovered during this mythological journey. Feel these insights not as memories to be stored but as living wisdom that will continue to unfold and find expression in the days and weeks ahead. Picture yourself gradually returning to ordinary awareness while maintaining the expanded perspective gained through deep contemplation. The room around you, the sounds of the everyday world, the sensations of your physical body, all are revealed to be expressions of the same sacred reality you have been exploring through mythology and symbol. Let your breathing gradually return to its normal rhythm, each breath a bridge between the extraordinary and the ordinary, between the mythological and the practical, between the depths of contemplation and the surface of daily life. Notice how the peace and understanding gained through this journey naturally infuses your ordinary consciousness without effort or strain. Feel your body gradually awakening from its deep relaxation, each muscle and joint gently returning to normal awareness while retaining the profound relaxation and peace that comes from extended contemplation. Your physical form is revealed to be not separate from but an expression of the same consciousness that animates the Monkey King and all mythological beings. As you prepare to open your eyes and return to ordinary activities, set the intention to carry the wisdom of this journey into your daily life not as a burden or obligation but as a natural expression of your deepest nature. Allow the insights gained through contemplation to find their own organic expression through your relationships, your work, and your service to others. The mythology of Black myth. Wukong continues to live and evolve through each person who engages with it deeply and authentically. You become part of this living tradition, carrying forward the ancient wisdom while allowing it to find fresh expression through your unique circumstances and contemporary context. Take a few moments to simply rest in the gentle transition between deep contemplation and ordinary consciousness, honoring both the profundity of the journey you have completed and the simple beauty of returning to everyday awareness. Both are sacred, both are necessary. Both are expressions of the one reality that encompasses all experience. When you feel ready, gently open your eyes and return to the world, carrying with you the peace, wisdom, and compassion that are your birthright and your gift to all beings. The journey continues, moment by moment, breath by breath, in the eternal adventure of conscious awakening. In the profound silence that follows the completion of all journeys, where endings and beginnings merge into the eternal now, let your consciousness rest in the ultimate understanding that emerges from the deepest contemplation of the Monkey King's legacy. Feel yourself suspended in that sacred moment where the destined one's quest reaches its culmination, yet simultaneously opens into infinite new possibilities. Picture the profound recognition that completion in the spiritual realm is never truly final, that each ending becomes a doorway to deeper understanding, each achievement a foundation for greater service, each moment of realization a seed for future awakening. The universe, in its infinite wisdom and compassion, will always bear forth new successors, new expressions of the eternal quest for truth and liberation. Feel the gentle understanding that you, in your own unique way, are both the continuation of this ancient lineage and its fresh expression in contemporary form. The wisdom that flowed through Sun Wukong, that guided the destined one's journey, that has inspired countless seekers across millennia, now flows through your own consciousness, seeking expression through your particular gifts, circumstances, and opportunities for service. The multiple pathways that emerge from deep spiritual practice, like the different endings available to the dedicated seeker, demonstrate that awakening is not a single destination but a spectrum of possibilities, each reflecting different aspects of the one truth that encompasses all experience. Your own journey will unfold according to your unique nature and the specific gifts you are meant to offer to the world. As you rest in this space of completion and new beginning, sense how the wisdom gained through this extended contemplation becomes a living transmission, not merely intellectual knowledge but embodied understanding that will continue to unfold and deepen throughout your life. The mythology you have explored becomes part of your own inner landscape, a source of guidance and inspiration that transcends the boundaries of any single tradition or teaching. Picture how the themes of rebellion against limitation, the quest for authentic power, the balance between individual will and cosmic harmony, and the recognition of the sacred in the ordinary will continue to find expression through your daily life and relationships. These are not abstract concepts but practical principles that can transform the quality of your existence and your capacity to serve others. The profound truth embedded in this mythological journey is that every conscious being carries within themselves the potential for complete awakening and unlimited creative expression. The external forms of practice and tradition serve to awaken and nurture this innate capacity, but the real work of transformation happens in the laboratory of daily life, moment by moment, choice by choice. Feel the deep peace that comes with understanding that you need not achieve some extraordinary state or accomplish some heroic deed to participate fully in this eternal tradition of awakening. Your sincere engagement with the challenges and opportunities of your own life, your commitment to growing in wisdom and compassion, your willingness to serve the highest good in whatever circumstances you find yourself. These constitute the real spiritual heroism that continues the legacy of all mythological figures. In the gentle twilight of this extended contemplation, allow yourself to sense how your own spiritual development creates ripples that extend far beyond your personal experience. Every moment of genuine awakening, every choice made from wisdom rather than fear, every act of authentic compassion contributes to the collective evolution of consciousness that is humanity's greatest adventure and responsibility. The secrets and hidden dimensions explored throughout this journey, the deeper meanings concealed within apparent simplicity, the profound teachings embedded in symbolic action, the transformative power of sustained contemplation, continue to reveal themselves as you apply these principles in your daily life. Each day offers new opportunities to discover hidden treasures within ordinary experience. Picture yourself as part of a vast network of conscious beings, each working in their own unique way to embody and express the timeless wisdom that flows through all authentic spiritual traditions. Your individual journey of awakening contributes to and is supported by this larger movement of consciousness toward greater love, wisdom, and creative expression. The completion you experience at the end of any significant spiritual practice or contemplation is not a termination but a graduation, a recognition that you are now ready for deeper service, greater responsibility, and more subtle forms of spiritual work. Like the destined one who completes one quest only to discover new dimensions of possibility, your own development continues to spiral into ever greater depths and heights of understanding and expression. As this extended meditation draws toward its natural conclusion, rest in the recognition that the eternal present moment is both the source and the destination of all spiritual seeking. The profound peace, wisdom, and compassion that you have touched through contemplation of these mythological themes are not distant goals to be achieved but present realities to be recognized and embodied. Feel how the entire journey from the initial relaxation through the exploration of cosmic themes to this moment of completion has been a continuous unfolding of the one consciousness that you are, exploring itself through the vehicle of focused attention and contemplative practice. Nothing has been added to your essential nature. Everything has been a process of remembering and expressing what was always already present. The mythology of Black myth, Wukong, like all authentic spiritual teaching, serves as a mirror reflecting your own deepest nature and highest potential. The qualities you have admired in the Monkey King, his courage, wisdom, transformative power, and ultimate compassion, are not foreign to your own being but expressions of capacities that await your recognition and cultivation. Picture yourself carrying forward the essence of this contemplative journey not as a memory of something past, but as a living presence that continues to inform and inspire your choices, relationships, and creative expressions. The real treasure gained through extended spiritual practice is not any particular experience or insight but the enhanced capacity to live with greater awareness, compassion, and authentic power in every moment. As your consciousness prepares to complete this circular journey and return to the ordinary world with extraordinary understanding, feel the seamless transition between the depths of contemplation and the surface of daily activity. There is no gap, no separation, no loss of the essential insights gained through this extended practice. The wisdom of the ages flows through your contemporary life just as naturally as breath flows through your body, or awareness flows through your mind. You need not maintain any special state or remember any particular teaching. The transformation that has occurred through sustained contemplation will express itself naturally through your enhanced capacity for presence, patience, understanding, and skillful action. Take a moment to honor the dedication and commitment that brought you through this complete journey of exploration and discovery. The willingness to engage deeply with profound themes, to sustain attention through extended contemplation, to open yourself to transformation. These represent the same heroic qualities that characterize all authentic spiritual seekers throughout history. Feel the gentle gratitude that arises naturally when consciousness recognizes its own infinite nature and creative potential. This gratitude extends to all the teachers, traditions, and circumstances that have supported your development, and naturally expresses itself as a commitment to serve the awakening and well-being of all beings. In this ultimate moment of completion and new beginning, let your final breath of this extended contemplation become simultaneously your first breath of renewed engagement with the world. Feel how each exhalation releases any sense of separation between spiritual practice and ordinary life, while each inhalation draws in the fresh possibility of expressing awakened consciousness through whatever activities and relationships await you. The circle is complete, yet the spiral continues. The journey ends where it began in the eternal present moment that is always available, always fresh, always offering new opportunities for discovery and service. You return to the world not as the same person who began this contemplation, but as a more complete expression of your own deepest nature and highest potential. Rest for a few moments in the perfect stillness that encompasses all movement, the profound silence that gives birth to all sound, the limitless space that embraces all experience. This is your true home, always available, never absent, the source and destination of all seeking. When you feel ready, and only when you feel ready, gently open your eyes and return to the world, carrying with you the peace that surpasses understanding, the wisdom that transcends knowledge, and the love that embraces all beings. The meditation is complete, but the awakening continues, moment by moment, breath by breath, in the eternal adventure of conscious living. The legacy of the Monkey King lives on through you. The wisdom of the ages finds fresh expression through your unique gifts and circumstances. The eternal journey continues, and you are both its vehicle and its destination, its seeker and its goal, its question and its answer. Welcome home. Welcome to the beginning.